All right, Shalom. Welcome to Chase Conversations channel. We're going to do a quick segment on health is wealth.
Sirach chapter 30, verse 15. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinity wealth. Sirach
Uh,
chapter 30, verse 25. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. Wow.
we understand, that we're all in different stages of our health journey, and that's what's important. Just understanding your where you are in your health walk, but keep continuing to push in that walk. Okay, so there's going to be 5 topics that we address. So the first topic I'd like us to touch on are health issues. We're going to start there. Well, a big one I was going to say is high blood pressure. I was going to say that's a big one, and it has a lot to do with our diets. The things that we eat, too much salt, too much, well, we shouldn't be eating pork at all. So I'll just say pork, right? And too much salt, seasoning. You can never have too much seasoning, but there's types of seasonings that you should be using. And then, of course, lack of exercise. But high blood pressure is a big one for our people. And I know that firsthand. That's something I had struggled with prior. So,
I would say diabetes. That's something that my family struggles with, especially in the my dad's side of the family, including my dad. And then, like you said, a lot of our people eat pork. Like I grew up eating carnitas and chorizo, and I
mm,
found my own truth to not eat that, right? And some of my family, my dad don't understand it. I'm like, hey, like there's pork, there's turkey, there's chicken, not everything that has to be pork, right?
right.
So a lot of people like it's hard for them to turn from that, and they try to convince themselves that they can eat pork, that it's okay when it's not.
I would say different things that disrupt our sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So because you might have high or low blood pressure, so it's like a sugar or a salt issue, that also can affect your sleep because maybe too much sugar is keeping you up. Maybe too much salt is making you sleepy. You know what I mean? Like so it's like a imbalance of either you're anxious or you're too tired.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can fluctuate between that. So I like sleep apnea. I've heard, I know family members that like actually still experience gout,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Or what's the other one with the swelling? Edema.
Mm-hmm.
So so I guess I would say instead of what I mentioned, it'd be more like it'd be sleep, but it would be also like inflammation. So like sleep and
Yes.
inflammation will basically like affect us in similar ways.
You say inflammation makes me think about that other one. It affects their hands.
Oh, arthritis and
Our
fibromyalgia.
another one is high cholesterol
Hmm.
because there's ways around these health issues naturally that you can combat them. I want to reference Leviticus 11 because it will tell you about the clean and unclean foods you cannot have, you can and cannot have, and swine, aka pork, is one of those. Leviticus 11 and 7, that is unclean, that you should not be eating. Well, if you can for me, sis, bring out Exodus 23 and 25.
And ye shall serve the Most High your Yahweh, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee.
Once we turn to the Most High, keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, especially those dietary laws in Leviticus 11, and repent, he can heal us. So next, I want to talk about body image. Body image, that's big, right? We see a lot of BBLs and whatever it is going on where we're altering our body so that we can look better. Um, so that comes off of perception of others, what they perceive we should look like, how we perceive ourselves. And, how does that affect us, right? How does that affect us? So, what are some things that can influence or affect us when it comes to body image?
So, okay. So one thing could be like a mental thing. So you're thinking of vanity in a way of like you're actually comparing yourself to maybe what you think you need to look like because you are observing people are like uh preferring somebody else. Or just for you, you're like, oh, that person's pretty, or that person, well, I'll just stick to women, but oh, that person's pretty. I want to look like them. And then you start looking at your body to see if you fit that type. And if you don't, how can you get there? Because now you're thinking maybe if I change the way I look, I'll be better wherever you are. Maybe you don't think you're being noticed or people are taking you seriously or they like you or not. You're trying to do it from different vantage points. So I would say that like a social pressure or just like a vanity thinking that you're good enough for yourself of yourself.
Definitely agree. I remember once I was in a doctor's office, actual nutritionist, because I see a nutritionist, and it's
Hmm.
okay to get medical assistance to help through
Yeah.
this health journey that you're on. And she did tell me something. She said African American women, the BMI is not the same as it would be for Caucasian women.
Um,
Our bone structures, the way our bodies are built, are different.
uh,
Okay. So we have to make sure we keep that in mind when we're talking about body image, right?
yep.
Um, it's important to know what works for you and your body, your body size and your shape.
Yep.
The point is that you feel healthy before you actually try to look healthy, right? So
Uh,
you can lose a lot of weight and you can start feeling healthy. You're breathing better, you're moving better, you're
mm-hmm.
losing a few inches, but you haven't yet met your goal weight. But what's important in this health journey is that you feel better. That should be your
Uh,
first goal. Okay. There's no one size fits all for bodies. We have different genetics, different bone structures. And so, what's important when it comes to body image is we don't care or concern ourselves what other people feel like we should look like.
Inward
Yes.
appearance, obviously I'm reading and praying and working on how I think of myself. Because when we already read the Sirach, a cheerful and good heart will have care of his meat and diet. That also your meat could also be like how you see yourself. What's
Mhm.
positive or what's alive in your thoughts? Like how do you speak to yourself? How do you talk about yourself?
Yeah.
Or it's about also like because we're the most high, because our body is our temple and he created us and he wants us, to add to that also that he wants us to take care of ourselves because that's what he wants for us. Because if we're eating unclean food, we're gonna feel unclean.
Yep. And that's a good point because when you said that, what I thought about was our bodies are on loan from the Most High, right? If you're loaning someone something, you don't want them to tear it up before it comes back to you. You want them to take care of it. So that's a really good point. So that's a really good point. So,
It was when they have that phrase, you are what you eat.
hmm
I don't know what it is. It's not like this for everybody, but sometimes when you find out what someone else has been eating or what you've been eating, sometimes you kind of look like that on the outside.
yeah,
And I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to make it literal, but it's almost as if you can kind of tell how somebody's skin is looking,
hmm
even if it appears that what you're eating is wrong, but your skin looks a certain way, your eyes look a certain way, your body moves a certain way, you kind of start to, and then you find out what they're eating, or you find out what you're like, oh, my body is doing this because of what that food or that drink
yep,
is doing to me. So it's there, it's showing up there as well.
yeah, on the outward. That's right.
Mhm.
Is your skin dry?
Are you
You
breaking out a
got dark
lot?
circles.
Hmm.
Yeah, pimples. Do you look tired? Do you
Yeah.
feel lethargic? So that's right, Con. So let's talk about time. Finding the time, the type of constraints we can have when it comes to health, and fitness. How can you fit this time to take care of yourself into your day-to-day walk, your day-to-day life? How often should you be trying to work out? How much should you be, consuming? Let's talk a little bit about time.
A good example would be depending on whatever time you have to wake up to prepare for the morning, you do a couple of things like you wake up, do a couple of little stretches while you're brushing your teeth. I've had to do this a couple times. As I'm brushing my teeth, you're supposed to allot about 2 minutes, do a couple calf raises,
Mm.
or
Mhm.
uh, do some kind of like winding with my hands, windmill. And then if I'm getting dressed, kind of turn that into like a couple squats here and
Mhm.
there. Twist the feet. You don't have to go full on like
Yeah.
I'm the starting lineup, but a final four or something. But do something real quick and turn it into. Matter of fact, I'm putting a shirt over my head, but maybe do it almost mechanically, like I'm about to do a workout. It'll like
Mhm.
be effective. I've had to do it a couple times, and it was fun. It was
Mhm.
fun.
One of the challenges that I had was I always want to do so much. I want to do that hour. And so I never do that hour, you know. So I was told once by my nutritionist, just do 15 minutes. Do 15 minutes. You know, don't set such a big goal, especially when you have trouble being consistent and you feel like you don't have the time. Do 15 minutes.
Like we think we like what you and Kaya said, like we think we have enough time, and time blindness is real, right? It's like especially with my time in, I'm like, oh, I have like an hour to do this, and sometimes I will have an hour or 2 hours, but then what I've noticed, I'm like, oh shoot, I still have to go make dinner, I still have to do this.
Hmm.
So what's realistic for me, and for most women, and it's hard to do, is the best time to go is 5 or 6. Go to the gym or wake up when everyone else is sleeping. However, that's hard sometimes because we're so busy. We want to sleep too, right? While we can.
I know I
When they, right? And the children are awake and they always need something. So it's yeah, so it's just, but what I've also realized though is we take time for ourselves, like
do.
it's so much rejuvenating, it's so much better, just that saying, we can't take care of ourselves, can't take care of no one else. Like even though that's easier said than done, we commit to ourselves and show up for ourselves, we feel better. And it just, about ourselves emotionally, physically, mentally. And and it's just an example for our family as well, right? Even if
Yeah.
not everyone in the home is following, it's like, okay, as a woman, we're doing that.
Yeah. What I was going to
Uh,
say was when it comes to time, I don't know if anyone likes to write, journal, or whatever, but create a schedule, a block
uh,
schedule, and see if how it can fit into your day as well. And also, we're attached to our phones.
mm-hmm.
So if you decide you're gonna watch some videos, walk in place while you do it. Walk in place while you do it. So the time is there. We just have to make sure we figure out how we can incorporate that time into our day, just like we do our prayers and we do our
Mm-hmm.
studying. If we find ourselves being idle, use it as an opportunity to walk for 5 minutes, walk for 10 minutes, and just start from there.
So realize a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Because we always struggle with like we all kind of say we really need to just because we want to go hard, we want to really go in and we want to be crying, we want to hate ourselves for doing it, we want to hate the app for telling us to do it, as if we, you know what I'm saying, but we're
Time.
motivating ourselves to stay disciplined. But sometimes I also had to reframe, not beating myself up, but realizing if the workout tells me to twirl my toe
Hmm.
for a minute and wrap my ankle and raise my knee and hold it for 15, 20 seconds, just do it. If it's
Yeah.
a wall sit for 30 seconds and I can't do it, fine. That little bit will get so much better in the
Yes.
long run because you're doing something with your body. I can't be jumping around no more.
Hmm.
Sometimes I get so dizzy, I be wanting to sit down and pass out. So I have to I have to be okay with y'all still has this body for me to do something with.
Yeah.
Whatever is giving me an issue for my goal, still work towards it. Like, don't stop. You know what I mean? We're gonna have
That's
our
it.
days where we forget, like time blindness, all that, but just don't stop. Continue to keep that in the front of your mind along with everything else, but just put it in smaller increments.
So food, we want to share what is it, what should we be eating, right? What does a balanced diet look like? So let's talk about that. So I'll just start off by saying protein. That's what I've always been told. Get your protein in. Get your protein in to lose weight, get your protein in to maintain muscle. So every
Um,
meal should be protein. Even if you don't eat a lot, you eat like a bird, get you some healthy protein shakes. There's so many options out there. just get your protein in. So I'll start with that because that's important.
Been listening to a couple of different podcasts and people who were physiologists in the field, and they've been looking at like women in perimenopause and menopause. And just a quick caveat, nowadays perimenopause is happening as early as 55.
Mm.
Sometimes it can be sooner depending on when you start having children. So a woman's first child could have been at like 19, 17, 23. Your menopause might start at 30, 27,
Oh
and
wow.
then it could
Hmm.
last another 15, 20 years, until maybe 50, or you can go into menopause sooner than that. So our whole body kind of predicates on a lot of different cycles, but what's been most prevalent is things like, they call it creatine, but it's almost like an energy thing. So it's similar to protein. When we
Hmm.
get ready to work out, a lot of the time we think it's best to do it on an empty stomach. Some
Hmm.
people may benefit from that, but not everybody does. So I think the best thing when it comes to like food, when we talked about what to have, also make sure that it's customized for you throughout the day. So like protein and fat is good. Fat is not bad. It's just what kind of fat are you
Right.
intaking, right? We talked about the high cholesterol. So it's not fried food essentially, or something that's been like processed multiple times in old oil. But it might be a food that has fat in it, like an avocado. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Or something that has that, or egg, or whatever you want to eat that has some level of fat, some kind of a cholesterol
Yeah.
that will process in your body. So that's what I would also add to that.
Too much protein can sometimes be bad. Not for everyone, but depending on like
Uh,
your blood type or if you have already a lot of protein in your body. It's been a while since when I used to go with well, I mean, I go to the gym sometimes, but when I used to go with the trainer when I was younger, they said you always want to eat protein. Just if you're trying to lose weight, you don't eat too much protein, but
Hmm.
also be mindful of the carbs because carbs, if you eat too much carbs, it turns to sugar. And then there's like gluten free.
mhm.
So realistically, we want to eat like enough protein, but not too much. Fruits, vegetables, 'cause God created those. And
And those
also,
actually are good carbs. That would be
yeah.
a good carb. So you're like, when you mentioned the fruits and vegetables, the carbs, it will be, some of the carbs will be considered bad, the same as like your bad fats. So sometimes people can't have bread, but another carb could be a leafy vegetable or a
Hmm.
starch like potato, a type of potato or rice or
Yes.
bean. Because some of those are carbs, some of those are fat, some of those are good fiber too, right? Because you got to stay regulated. I
Hmm.
believe protein, fats, carbs, and then water. Water
Yes.
actually is a part of that. Sometimes it wasn't, but if you really think about it, you really do need good water, whether it's spring water, some mineral water. If it's still water, maybe on occasion, because some, maybe the water's just too dirty for it to have like
Yeah.
a little bit of mineral in there. But you want to have a good electrolyte type infused water.
Yeah. So cut out the sodas, cut out the
Ooh.
sugars, find healthy, sweet alternatives. The
Mm-hmm.
low fat yogurt, some fruits, to throw in there. Not too many fruits, but some fruits as well, and meal prep. Okay.
Fine. Proverbs chapter 3, I'll read 5 through 8, and it says, Trust in Yah with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. Verse 6, In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. 7, Be not wise in your own eyes, fear Yahweh, and depart from evil. Verse 8, It shall be health to your navel and marrow to your bones. And when you read that, it's kind of saying the same thing, but the marrow essentially is like a nourishing situation. It may not necessarily be talking about literal bone marrow, but bone marrow to your bones is nourishing. It helps with a whole bunch
Yes.
of other things, helps keep your bones strong and transferring your blood cells and stuff like that. So I thought that was really powerful when you think about food, body image, um, because all of that, if you're working on it, it will boost your mood, and it will enhance you going from sad to happy, in a sense. It's like a happy endorphin or a happy hormone.
Talk about one more topic for a couple of minutes. That's very important. Exercise. Um, I'll take the easiest one, walking.
All right. Yes.
Walk, just walk. You don't have to run, you don't have to sprint, just walk. Any other ones that we can suggest to our sisters?
Jump rope.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Jumping
of the
rope. I
Um,
Um,
was think I, because of you, Sister Kai, I was thinking about like light weights.
mhm,
okay, always include weights.
Yeah.
Even if it's your body weight, at some point include weights because what
Hmm.
I'm learning with peri and perimenopause,
Hmm.
and once you finally hit menopause and your estrogen goes away, it also, the estrogen affects your bones. That's why we're higher at getting osteoarthritis and osteoporosis because it
Hmm.
weakens our bones. The estrogen helps carry things throughout our body. So it helps with our hormones, the progesterone and the testosterone, but it also helps with our iron. It helps with our calcium. It helps with our mood and all of those hormones in our mental health. Find it resistant bands too, but you always want to make sure your body is getting some resistance. You don't
Yes.
go fast. You want to probably do like a 4 count down and then maybe kind of come up a little quicker because in whatever motion, whether you're going down or you're coming up, you want to do that slower, hold it, and then come back into whatever your position is. And then there's chair exercises for some of us who,
Yeah. Yep.
rebounding or bouncing in a way, kind of throws us off. Um, Try
And
to
good
vary
for those who work
out.
sedentary jobs. You're
Yeah,
just
you
sitting
got to
down
do
all day.
those. Yeah, and
Yep.
that's one thing I would say try to incorporate a little bit more of an impact type of a workout for people who sit around because like on
Hmm.
a plane or something, because your body's not doing anything. So although walking helps, you want to boost your walking experience as well. So while you're walking, maybe have on ankle weights, not heavy.
Right.
We want you to you want your body to move, but have on wrist weights or something, or have an elastic band or like 3 pound in
Yes. Incline
something,
walk, right? On a
incline
treadmill or
walk.
walking
and then sit-ups. But
sit-ups. Hmm.
yeah, and then I would say push-ups, but the modified push-ups, depending on like the push-ups are great. It just depends. Like for me, I have my arm is messed up from when I was younger,
Hmm.
right? So I
Mhm.
have to do modified push-ups. And I would say like we want to push ourselves. We don't want to over push ourselves too,
Yes.
Mhm.
because
And that's the last thing I was going to say, stretch. And I think you said it earlier, Sister Kai. It's a stretch. Always
Right.
before and
stretch.
after.
Yeah.
Anything dealing
So,
with your core and your pelvic
hmm.
floor, you wanna literally work on and strengthen because that for us, for men too, but for us, that's where some of our problems come from. So for
Yeah.
example, in Isaiah chapter 3, I'm just going to read verses 16 to 24, but it
Okay.
kind of will summarize some of the things that we talk about, that we already talked about. So verse 16 says, Moreover, Yahweh says, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and Yahweh will discover their secret parts. In that day, the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their cauls, and their round tires like the moon, the chains and the bracelets, and the mufflers, the bonnets, and the ornaments of the legs, and the headbands, and the tablets and the earrings, the rings and nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles, and the wimples, and the crisping pins the glasses and the fine linen and the hoods and the veils. And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle, a rent, and instead of well set hair, baldness, and instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. The last thing I said about the pelvic floor and the core, verse 24 is talking about instead of a girdle, a rent. So a girdle, something that brings it together. Now it's ripped up, you busting out of it. So you can think about how underwear doesn't really fit us right. You got other people setting the standard of like what our measurements are supposed to be.
Hmm.
And we're trying to fit into that, or you've got the body con or the waist things that you got to like slide in
Yeah.
to kind of get a smooth look. And then he said instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth. A stomacher could also make it be your core internally, like the way our bodies were set. We were solid. We weren't necessarily losing our shape, especially after having children.
All right, sisters. So I want to end with 3 John 1 and 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. Shalom, sisters.
Shalom.
Shalom.